Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to be talking about some more upcoming severe weather for the southeast. Once again, this is the third time in just a couple weeks. Very unfortunate news there. Now, before we get started with this video, though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather-related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter and join our Facebook group. That'll be in the comments down below. Now, for today's comment of the day, I want to know, what was the first direct weather video you ever saw that made you subscribe? And I'll be picking one of those comments tomorrow for tomorrow's video. Now let's get into this video, and we're going to be talking about our day one categorical outlook, and we're not talking about the southeast yet. We have two areas today that are looking for severe weather. Today is April the 21st, by the way. We have some for Oklahoma and Texas, and then some out there for the Mid-Atlantic as well. Let's get into those individual risks, and first things first, we're looking at our hail outlook, and you can see most of that, actually all of that, is for Oklahoma and Texas and some of those south central states, so none of that is for the Mid-Atlantic. Also, our tornado risk is specifically for that south central region of the United States, Texas, Oklahoma, and maybe even a little bit of New Mexico there. And then our wind outlook, there's a little bit for Texas and Oklahoma, but that's specifically for the Mid-Atlantic there, for the Mid-Atlantic states. There is a wind risk, but again, no risk for tornadoes, very minimal risk for tornadoes. Probably will not see any chance for tornadoes, and also very minimal chance for hail as well out there in the Mid-Atlantic. But in the South Central, it's a different story. Now we're about to move on, and what we're going to do is we're going to move towards tomorrow, where we're going to see the beginning of our next severe weather outbreak. So on April the 22nd, we are expecting to see a lot of severe weather throughout Texas and Oklahoma, then eventually moving through overnight into Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. These are very familiar areas that have been dealing with a lot of severe weather, and it looks like that's going to be happening once again. This is a very large slight risk area for day two. We could potentially see an enhanced risk here for Wednesday through into early on Thursday. Let's take a look at some of those individual risks once again. And you can see things are a little bit more elevated here. We have the wind risk. We have 5% in the green and then 15% chance in the yellows. That's all within 25 miles of a given location, by the way. And then our hail risk for tomorrow, we have a hatched region as well, but we have 5% and 15% there once again. But the hatched region is indicating areas where we could see a good chance for 2-inch diameter hail or larger for Oklahoma, Texas, including Dallas and Fort Worth. And then throughout Arkansas and Louisiana there as well, we have pretty good chance for very large hail there. Now for your tornado risk, we have 2% in the green and then 5% in the brown. This is a pretty slight risk for tornadoes unless we see this get up to a 10 or 15. We're not looking at too much concern for tornadoes. There would probably be, maybe a couple of tornadoes, but we need to see if that chance might increase because shear looks okay and also the tornado parameter looks a little bit good. So I'm thinking we might get upgraded to a 10 depending on how the model guidance continues. Speaking of model guidance, we're about to move on, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the model guidance for the day tomorrow and just take you through the simulated radar so you guys can get a good idea of what you're expecting throughout the day tomorrow. Alright, so here we are, and we're looking at our CAPE, which is our convective available potential energy, and you can see there's going to be a line of that comes through actually tomorrow evening, Thursday, April 22nd. I don't know how I got that mixed up. In the greens, we're looking at 1,000 to 2,000 CAPE, which is definitely sufficient. This is going to help these thunderstorms develop. It's a combination of the humidity mixed with the temperature at different layers here, and this is a good calculation to see the potential for thunderstorm growth. In the yellows, we have 2,000 to 3,000. In the reds, we have 3,000 to 4,000, and I'm even seeing a little bit of purples there for Texas where we have 4,000 plus. That's definitely an elevated amount of CAPE, so that's going to really help these very potent thunderstorms develop. Let's go ahead and move on to our bulk shear. We have a lot of that, so purples and pinks indicating areas with moderate bulk shear. Again, this is why I think that we have a pretty slight risk for tornadoes as opposed to last Sunday and then the Sunday before that, where we had more reds and yellows showing up. That was much more sheer than what we're expecting tomorrow, so I think we have a little bit of a less risk for that. We do have some reds showing up, which is indicating areas of like a little bit more in some scattered locations, but again, I think our tornado risk tomorrow is quite slight actually. So let's move through our simulated radar, and here we are actually very late on Wednesday night, and you can see those thunderstorms start to develop late in the evening for southeastern Oklahoma and maybe even northern Texas there as well. Those are going to eat that cape, and they're actually going to be where the shear is pretty high as well, and that's going to lead to some chance for tornadoes. It depends on the storm mode, though. Here's our significant tornado parameter. In the purples, that's indicating areas with pretty moderate to high amounts, so we're going to have to see if some of the thunderstorms can tap into that. This is a pretty... This parameter you need to take with a grain of salt because sometimes this can really look high and then nothing really happens. That's why I'm still sticking to my gun and saying that I think for Wednesday the tornado risk is pretty slight to moderate. Now we're about to move on, and what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at day 3, which is the main risk for the southeast. We're going to see areas like Alabama and through areas like Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida once again going to be looking at some severe weather, and that's actually going to be our biggest severe weather day, I believe. All right, and here we are. Here's our categorical outlook for day 3. Keep in mind, on the day 3 outlook, we can't look at the individual ones, so we're not going to be able to look at the tornado, hail, or wind probabilities yet. That you have to wait till day 2 to see that. Right now, we have an enhanced risk for severe weather. I'm assuming that's mostly for, well, a combination of all 3 types of severe weather. I think we're going to have pretty good tornado chances as well as some pretty high wind or hail risk, but I think it's going to be all 3. Now, in the green, we're looking at a marginal risk. You can see that extends from Louisiana up through Mississippi, Alabama, portions of Tennessee, and North Carolina as well. And then in our yellow, we have a slight risk. And then in our orange, we have an enhanced risk. So you can see the enhanced risk is mostly for Alabama, Georgia, a little bit of South Carolina, and then northern Florida. This is very familiar to last Sunday, actually. And I think the risk is going to be quite similar for tornadoes, hail, and wind. I do think that it's a little bit less intense than that day. We do have the chance for a moderate risk here. Obviously, that's a very big area of an enhanced risk, and it's day 3. So if they gain more confidence that we will be seeing more severe weather, I could see this day actually being a moderate risk, which would be on par with last Sunday and the Sunday before that. Again, this is going to be for Thursday in through very, very early on Friday. It goes through the night until about sunrise. So that's why I say Thursday through into early on Friday. Now, let's go ahead and look at that modeled guidance real quick. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our simulated radar, and this is actually very early in the morning, maybe 4 a.m. I wanted to show where these storms transition from the day 2 up in Texas and Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana, and now they've moved through early in the morning into areas like Mississippi and Alabama, and they're just going to continue to move in a very easterly direction. So we're going to go ahead and move on in just a second and take a look at that, but we're really going to be looking at more chance for tornadoes, really overall just more chance for severe weather on day 3 than any of the other days. All right, and here we are. We're taking a look at that cape for about 8 p.m. and you can see we actually have some pretty elevated cape on this day as well. In the greens, it's areas that are indicated being around 1,000 to 2,000. Again, in the yellows, we're looking at about 2,000 to 3,000. The reds, which is mostly located for Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, and then a little bit of Georgia and Florida as well. That's where we have 3,000 to 4,000, and I'm even seeing some purples on the very, very western edge of the front there, and that's where we're looking at 4,000 plus, maybe even closer to 5,000 there in some areas. Very, very elevated cape, and the further into the year we get, the more cape we're going to start seeing with these systems. As it gets hotter, we see a lot more cape. So let's go ahead and take that all the way to, I would say this is maybe 11 p.m. and you can see it's going to transition to mostly southeastern Alabama, northern Florida, and portions of Georgia as well. Now for your shear, you can see it's located mostly up north, those reds being indicated up there for northern Georgia and northern Alabama, but we do have purples pretty widespread, which is going to allow for at least a slight chance for tornadoes pretty widespread throughout the entire severe weather risk. But by the time we reach 11 p.m., once again, we see those deeper purples and reds actually head further south and further east, more where our thunderstorms are. And if we see the thunderstorms continue into the night on Friday, I think it could become a very dangerous situation and increase the chance for tornadoes because we're going to see that shear move further south. All right, now let's look at the simulated radar by about, I would say, maybe about 11 a.m. on Thursday. And here we are looking at some supercell development, maybe embedded supercell development for southeastern Alabama there. So it's going to be mostly Alabama in the morning and early afternoon. But by the time we're at about 5 p.m., you can see it's mostly for Georgia and South Carolina. And again, this is when our shear is going to be increasing as well. So this is why I think we're probably going to have more chance for severe weather in Georgia rather than Alabama, or at least more chance for tornadoes, I guess I would say, for Georgia and South Carolina, maybe even Florida as well, as opposed to Alabama. But I think there's going to be a pretty widespread risk for tornadoes throughout the day. Here's your significant tornado parameter on that same hour, and we can see a lot of those reds and purple showing up for Georgia once again. Like I said, that's where I'm expecting the most chance for tornadoes. Now for today's comment of the day, I wanted to know what was your favorite direct weather video, and Braden the Weather Boy said, my favorite video is why this severe weather season could be historic, and he said, because I love it when you talk about severe weather. I picked this comment because I'm talking about severe weather again, so I hope you're happy that I did that, and that was one of my favorite videos as well that I've ever made because it was a great call. We're on pace for a historic severe weather season. We're well above average as far as tornadoes and severe weather overall, so that was a very good video. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media. I will see you guys in the next video.